For 40,000 years, Earth remained a quiet memory in the galaxy's history, its people thought to be lost forever. Yet now, a deadly signal cuts through the stars, a warning, a challenge. The galaxy had long forgotten the power of humanity. Until now, and that was before Earth even responded. The alien council room was a study in silence. The once powerful beings who dominated the galaxy, their species scattered across countless star systems, sat frozen. It had been thousands of years since Earth was erased from their minds, and with it, the memory of humanity. But now, a signal had broken the quiet of the cosmos, and they were forced to confront something they had long dismissed. Impossible, the lead alien murmured. His voice trembled with disbelief as the hologram flickered in the center of the 10th of the Fatin Wavitinodav, often with disbelief as the hologram flickered in the center of the DD room. A simple, stark message, transmitted through space at unimaginable speeds. The projection on the council screen wasn't a message of peace, of alliance. No, it was a warning. It was fire. The stars burned bright as an ancient symbol. The emblem of Earth flared to life, projecting the impossible. Humanity had returned. We thought they were extinct, another alien spoke, his voice thick with a mixture of awe and terror. How was this even possible? The room was silent, save for the low hum of the holographic display. No one dared to speak, not as the image flickered in front of them. The emblem of humanity, simple, crude even by their standards, shone with a fury the council could not ignore. Activate all defense networks. The council leader barked, his voice suddenly firm, a reflection of his ancient pride. But there was fear behind his words. They had dismissed Earth for too long, and now they would face the price. On the bridge of the human warship, Commander Jace Warren watched the stars streak by. The silence of space had been comforting at first, the cold vacuum a refuge from the chaos that had destroyed Earth. But now, the silence was shattered. His ship was nothing like the sleek, shining vessels of the alien fleets. It was a relic, rough and brutal, made from what was left of humanity's most desperate scraps. Yet it was powerful, capable of defying the galaxy's expectations. The emblem of Earth was emblazoned on its hull, and it burned with a symbolic fury as if it could burn away the eons of pain and loss. Commander, Lieutenant Ferris's voice cut through the moment. We've received their response. They're activating everything they've got. This is no longer just a warning. It's a fight. Jace's gaze never left the star-filled void ahead. We didn't come here to beg for mercy. We came here to show them the cost of forgetting humanity. The ship rumbled as its weapons powered up. There was no time for hesitation. They had come too far, the galaxy's arrogance too much to forgive. Humanity's silence had been long, but now it spoke in fire. The alien council leader stood. His tall, lithe figure moved across the room as the projections of battle tactics and defense grid readouts filled the air. The alien race that had once been the galaxy's rulers, feared by all, now found themselves scrambling, their pride crushed by the reality they had long ignored. They thought it was mercy, one of the council members whispered, their voice low but full of dread. It wasn't. We're about to find out just how wrong we were. As the council leader activated the command to prepare their final stand, the tension in the room grew thick, palpable. They had dismissed Earth. They had thought humanity would be a memory, a ghost story passed down through generations. But now, the galaxy's oldest enemy, one they had long since forgotten, was back. And it was angry. Back on the human warship, Jace took a deep breath as he watched the screen flicker. The projection showed the alien homeworld, a world that had long thought itself untouchable. The council's home, their heart, their hubris. Now it was their downfall. Prepare for full engagement, Jace commanded. This is no longer about making a statement. We're here to make them remember the price of their arrogance. The ship's engines roared to life, hurtling them toward the enemy's defenses. The weapon systems powered up, and the crew moved. Like well-oiled machinery, ready for whatever was to come. But it wasn't just about the technology or the firepower. No, humanity's strength was never in their ships. It had never been about the weapons. It was in their will, their refusal. To be forgotten. Target the defense grid, Jace ordered. No mercy. We've waited too long for this moment. The alien leader watched helplessly as his fleets were obliterated. Ship after ship fell to the assault. Their defenses, once thought invincible, shattered like glass against the fury of the human attack. The council members were frozen in place, their eyes wide as they realized the full weight of their error. They were supposed to be dead. Forgotten, one muttered, unable to believe what was happening. The council leader turned to the screen, watching the devastation unfold. We've underestimated them. Their silence. It was a warning. As the last of their defenses crumbled, he spoke, his voice heavy with regret. Now they speak in fire. On the human warship, Jay stood in front of the view screen as the alien homeworld grew larger. His eyes were cold, his jaw set in determination. The ship had completed its mission, and now the galaxy would hear their message loud and clear. We're not here for vengeance, Jay said quietly, more to himself than anyone else. We're here to remind them, and we will. He didn't need to say more. The rest of the crew knew what this meant. Humanity had been lost to history, but now they spoke in fire. As the ship moved closer, the stars seemed to tremble, as if the universe itself had taken notice, and that was before Earth even responded. The ship cut through the void like a beast released from its chains, the fire of its engines igniting the path ahead. The stars seemed dimmer now, as if they had learned to fear humanity's return. For 40,000 years, Earth had been forgotten, the hum of its existence swallowed by time. Now its emblem shone brighter than any star, and its ships, though crude in comparison to the alien vessels they now faced, were packed with the sheer will of a people who had been underestimated. Commander Jace Warren stood at the helm, his fingers tightening around the controls as the warship's weapons powered up. The screens before him blinked with the same cold calculation that had been etched into humanity's soul. They had once been feared before their destruction at the hands of those who thought themselves superior. Now they had returned not just for revenge, but to make the galaxy remember the price of arrogance. The alien homeworld loomed ahead, vast and untouchable, its shining cities a stark contrast to the war-ravaged wreckage that marked Earth's fate. The planet was a symbol of everything humanity had been denied, their homeworld stripped away, their people scattered, their history rewritten, but humanity was not extinct. Not by a long shot. Commander, we've breached their outer defenses. Lieutenant Ferris reported, his voice tight with anticipation. They're sending reinforcements. It's a full-scale battle now. Jace didn't flinch. His eyes remained focused on the screen, the endless expanse of stars slowly growing smaller as the ship closed in on its target. We didn't come here for a fight, he muttered. We came here to make them remember. The ship shuddered as enemy fire slammed into the shields, but it held strong. The hum of the engines was a reminder of what humanity had built from the ashes of a broken world. The ship wasn't built for grace. It was built for survival. The shields flickered but remained intact, pushing the human warship onward. Activate secondary weapons, Jace ordered, his voice steady. We don't stop until their leadership is no more. Copy that, Forrest said. Weapons are live. They won't know what hit them. Back on the alien homeworld, panic had set in. The once invincible council, the rulers of the galaxy, were scrambling to respond. The warships they had sent to intercept the human vessel were being obliterated one by one. Their tech was advanced, their ships sleek and polished, but nothing in their arsenal had prepared them for what Earth had become. Holographic projection in the council chamber flickered as the status reports flooded in. Each line was a tally of destruction, human ships tearing through their fleets like they were made of paper. "Commander, we're losing ships at an alarming rate," a younger council member exclaimed, their voice laced with fear. "This cannot be. We've never seen anything like it. Keep fighting. We can still push them back." Another alien shouted, though their voice lacked the confidence it once had. They had underestimated humanity, and now they were paying for it. The council leader, once the embodiment of arrogance, stood motionless. His eyes were fixed on the projections, the realization settling in like a stone in his chest. They're not just fighting. They're destroying everything in their path. They were supposed to be gone, another member hissed. This shouldn't be happening. Why didn't we finish them when we had the chance? The council leader's expression darkened. Because we believed their silence meant weakness. And we were wrong. The human warship tore through space, undeterred by the fire raining down on it. It was a ship that should not have existed. Built from the remnants of humanity's shattered world, its frame was rough, jagged. Yet it carried with it something far more dangerous than any advanced technology, humanity's relentless will to survive. Jay stood on the bridge, his mind focused. There was no room for hesitation. This wasn't just a fight for survival. This was humanity's statement. The Council had forgotten about them. The galaxy had forgotten about them. But now they would remember. "Commander, we've breached the planet's atmosphere," Forrest called out, his voice vibrating with adrenaline. "We're on course for the central citadel." "Good," Jace replied, his voice steady. "They won't have time to react. Lock on to the primary target." As the warship descended toward the planet, its weapons charged up, ready to strike. On the planet below, the Council's last line of defense was activated. A massive energy shield enveloped the planet, shimmering against the dark sky like an impenetrable barrier. But it wouldn't be enough. The human warship's main cannon hummed to life, and Jace gave the order. The blast that followed was nothing short of apocalyptic. A beam of light, pure and unforgiving, ripped through the shield like paper, tearing into the heart of the Council's citadel. The world seemed to stop as the blast connected. The energy of the strike reverberated through space, shaking the foundations of the alien homeworld. The citadel, once a symbol of their eternal dominance, crumbled in an instant, disintegrating into a cloud of debris and fire. They thought it was mercy, Jace muttered as the view of the planet turned to chaos. It wasn't. The Council Hall was in ruins. The once proud leaders of the galaxy, those who had stood at the pinnacle of power, now lay defeated. Their ships, their citadel, their pride all reduced to nothing. The alien species that had once feared nothing now had to face the undeniable truth. Humanity had returned, and they were unstoppable. "It's over," one of the council members whispered, his voice empty. "They've broken us." The council leader, his face etched with sorrow, turned to face the remnants of his colleagues. "Yes, it's over. But we will remember this day. The day we were reminded of humanity's true strength." On the warship, Jay stood quietly, watching as the destruction unfolded below. The battle was won, but there was no joy in the victory. There was only the silence that followed a war long overdue. "We've done it," Ferris said, his voice calm but strained. "The galaxy will never forget us again." Jace didn't respond immediately. His eyes were distant, lost in thought. Humanity had fought for survival, for justice, for vengeance. But it had come at a cost. Earth was gone. The memories of what had once been were scattered across the stars, But the emblem of humanity, the fire that had once burned so brightly, would now burn forever in the hearts of those who had witnessed it. The galaxy would remember, and it would never forget the price of arrogance. "We've won," Jace finally said, his voice low. "But we didn't come here for glory. We came here to remind them." And we did. The warship turned, leaving the shattered homeworld behind. But its message was clear. The stars would never forget, and humanity had finally spoken. The human warship drifted through space, its engines now humming with a steady rhythm, the chaos of battle fading into the distant memory of the alien homeworld they had left behind. Commander Jace Warren stood at the helm, his eyes focused on the stars ahead. There was no sense of victory, no celebration. Just the quiet of the cosmos, as if the universe itself was holding its breath after the storm that had just passed. Silence of space had always been a comfort to Jace, a reminder of how far humanity had come, how much they had suffered, and yet how resilient they had remained. He didn't want to believe that Earth had truly been destroyed, but he knew it. His ancestors had built something great, something to be proud of. And though that civilization had crumbled, humanity had survived. They had rebuilt out of the ashes into something the galaxy could no longer ignore. But now, as the ship moved toward the unknown reaches of space, Jace couldn't shake the feeling that they hadn't finished what they'd started. The alien council, broken and defeated, had received their message. But there were others out there, others who might seek to rise again, who might challenge the fragile peace that had been forced upon the galaxy. The council had fallen, but that didn't mean the galaxy would be at peace. "Commander," Faris's voice broke through the stillness, a slight edge of tension in it. "We've received another transmission from the Outer Rim." Jace glanced over at his communications officer, his brow furrowing. "What is it?" Faris hesitated for a moment before responding. "It's a distress signal. They're asking for help. They know what we did to the council, and they want to negotiate." Jace's mind raced as he processed the information. The message could be genuine or it could be a trap. His instinct was to ignore it, to continue on their path and leave the galaxy to pick up the pieces of the council's demise. But something told him that this wasn't the end. Humanity had reminded the galaxy of their power, but there was still much to be done. "We're not here to negotiate," Jace said, his voice quiet but firm. "If they want to speak to us, they'll have to earn it." As the ship continued its course, the tension on the bridge was palpable. Jace knew this was a pivotal moment, one that could shape the future of humanity's place in the galaxy. They had struck fear into the hearts of the galaxy's most powerful species, but that didn't mean the battle was over. It had only just begun. Back on the alien homeworld, the Council's last remnants were in disarray. The once proud citadel lay in ruins, and the power that had once dominated the galaxy was now reduced to rubble. The alien species that had ruled for millennia now found themselves facing the consequences of their own hubris. They thought it was mercy, the council leader muttered, his voice filled with a bitterness that had been building for centuries. It wasn't. He looked around at the surviving members of the council, their faces marked with exhaustion, fear, and regret. They had underestimated humanity, and now they had paid the price. "What are we going to do?" one of the younger members asked, her voice trembling. "They've already destroyed our fleets, our cities. What hope do we have now?" The council leader stood tall, his eyes hard and determined. "We fight, we rebuild, and we show humanity that we will not go quietly into the darkness." But even as he spoke the words, he knew the truth. The galaxy had changed. The old ways were gone. The human warship had not only destroyed their physical defenses, but had also shattered their pride. The power they had once wielded had been reduced to nothing. Humanity had reawakened a force they had long forgotten, and it was now the most Dangerous thing in the galaxy. On the human warship, Jay stared at the distant stars, lost in thought. The distress signal from the outer rim still lingered in his mind, unanswered. He knew there were risks in responding, but if there was even a chance that the galaxy might be on the brink of something greater, something that could bring about lasting peace, he couldn't ignore it. Prepare for a course change, Jace ordered. Set a course for the outer rim. We'll answer their call. Ferris looked at him, his expression a mix of caution and curiosity. Commander, are you sure? After everything we've just been through, is it wise to approach another unknown? Jace turned to face him, his expression calm but resolute. It's the only way to ensure that we finished what we started. We've shown the galaxy our strength, but now we need to show them our resolve. This isn't just about power, it's about what humanity stands for. The crew began to prepare for the course change, the ship's engines shifting direction, as the warship adjusted its trajectory toward the outer rim. The journey would take time, but Jace knew that whatever lay ahead, humanity would be ready. The galaxy had learned their lesson, but it was far from over. There were still battles to be fought, still alliances to be tested, and still enemies to face. The transmission from the outer rim grew clearer as they approached, its message repeating like a broken record, begging for help. Jace couldn't help but wonder what kind of species would still be asking for help after what they had seen humanity do. What kind of force would rise from the ashes of the Council's destruction? As the warship neared the source of the signal, the bridge grew tense once more. The unknown loomed large before them, but Jace felt a sense of calm. The message had been sent. The galaxy knew what humanity was capable of. And now they would see what humanity was willing to do. We're here, Ferris said, his voice tight with anticipation. The signal is coming from a mining colony on the edge of the galaxy. Jace nodded. Prepare to dock. Let's see what they have to say. As the warship descended toward the colony, Jace couldn't shake the feeling that they were about to face something far greater than they had anticipated. The destruction of the Council had been only the beginning. Now, they would see if humanity truly had the power to shape the galaxy, or if they would be forced to survive in its shadows. The ship touched down with a soft thud, the lights dimming slightly as the crew prepared for whatever would come next, and as the doors of the warship opened, the silence of space was broken once more. ChatGPT said. The air was thick with tension as the human warship descended into the mining colony, its massive frame casting an ominous shadow over the ground below. Jace stood at the helm, his mind racing. They had come here to answer a distress call, but the situation felt different. The galaxy was not the same place it had been before they had woken up from their 40,000 years of silence. Humanity's return had shaken everything, and now they were walking into the unknown. Ferris stood beside him, his face pale. Commander, the colony's defenses are down. It's abandoned. Jace's heart sank. The signal had been desperate, a plea for help, but now it seemed more like a trap. The mining colony, once a bustling outpost, was eerily silent. The buildings stood like tombs, hollow and vacant. There were no signs of life, no movement, nothing but the remnants of a forgotten world. Something's wrong, Jace muttered, his hand hovering over the controls. Prepare for a full sweep of the area. I want answers. The crew went to work, the ship's sensors scanning every inch of the desolate landscape. The transmission had been clear. Help us. They are coming. But who were they, and why had the colony fallen silent? As the warship landed, a strange chill swept through the airlock. The metallic doors slid open, and the crew stepped onto the barren surface. The silence was overwhelming, the kind of silence that suffocates. Suddenly, a voice echoed through the ship's communication system, a crackling, static-filled message. It was a distorted voice, one that barely reached through the interference. They ... They've awakened. They are here. The words sent a chill down Jace's spine. His mind raced. They've awakened. What did that mean? What was lurking in the shadows of the galaxy? Ferris looked at Jace, his eyes filled with uncertainty. Commander, what do we do now? Jace stood still for a moment, the weight of the decision heavy in the air. We face whatever comes. Humanity has always faced the unknown. We'll do it again. The ground beneath their feet trembled, and a low rumble echoed through the colony. Then, from the shadows, something stirred. The air grew colder as the first figures emerged, their faces obscured by dark hooded cloaks. They're not human, Ferris whispered, his voice trembling. Jace's hand instinctively went to the sidearm at his waist, but he didn't draw it. Instead, he watched, his pulse steadying as the figures approached. The leader of the cloaked figures stepped forward, and as they lowered their hood, Jace's breath caught in his throat. The being before him was like nothing he had ever seen, a mix of organic and mechanical, its eyes glowing with a faint red light. I was hoping you would come, the being said in a voice that reverberated with an unsettling calmness. Humanity has returned. But it is not just the galaxy that has been waiting for you. It is something far older. Jace's mind raced. Who are you? We, the being said, are the Forgotten. And we have been waiting for the humans to return to the stars. The galaxy is not as it seems. And your return, it is not the end. It is the beginning. Jace stood motionless, every instinct telling him to move, to take action. But something held him in place. There was a power in the being's words, a truth that resonated deep within him. The galaxy had been reshaped, but this new force, these Forgotten, had been hiding, waiting for the moment to reveal themselves. We've come too far to turn back now, Jace said, his voice calm but resolute. What do you want from us? The being's eyes flickered with a strange intensity. What we want is simple. We want to see how humanity will stand in a galaxy that no longer remembers your place. Suddenly, the ground shook again, more violently this time. From the shadows, more figures emerged, creatures with glowing eyes and armored exteriors. They were not here for peace. The Forgotten were preparing for war. We've waited long enough, the leader of the cloaked figures said, stepping back. Now humanity must prove itself. Jace's hand went to his sidearm, but he didn't draw it. Instead, he spoke calmly. We didn't come here to conquer. We came to remind the galaxy who we are. The battle that followed was like no other. Humanity, unprepared and facing an ancient enemy, fought with a desperation that could only come from a people who had been lost to history. Their ships were crude, their technology primitive in comparison to the Forgotten. But humanity had something that the galaxy had forgotten, an unshakable will to survive. As the war raged, Jace stood at the forefront, his crew fighting beside him. The Forgotten were relentless, but humanity was determined. The fight was brutal, each moment feeling like an eternity, but slowly the tide began to turn. The Forgotten strength began to wane under the pressure of humanity's relentless spirit. Jace's voice rang out over the comms. This isn't over. We're not here to bow to anyone. This is our galaxy, and we will fight for it. The warship fired its final salvo, taking down the leader of the Forgotten with a single, precise shot. The enemy forces faltered, and the battlefield fell silent. For the first time in centuries, humanity's emblem was seen not just as a symbol of the past, but as a symbol of the future. The Forgotten were not the last threat. They were just the beginning. And as the warship ascended into the cold expanse of space, the galaxy would never forget the message humanity had sent. Humanity had returned. And they spoke in fire,